The Marvel vs. Capcom series is a classic. Its artwork and gameplay have become massively influential to artists and game devs everywhere. Which is a little funny given a good portion of the series' style came from money and time-saving decisions. The series reuses a lot of sprites from game to game, something that Capcom themselves aren't afraid of admitting.
Marvel vs. Capcom 2 came out at the end of the CPS2 arcade era hardware, but we were really swinging for the fences on that one. We said, what can we do? Kitchen sink, you name it. You got a sprite, we're gonna throw the sprite in there. Yeah, you're a character in this game. You're a character. Everyone's a character in Marvel vs. Capcom 2. So we took, 10, 15 years of sprite history, collected them all into one fighting game, and then gave them all insane moves and properties, and just let it all happen.
By all means, I'm not complaining about reused assets, especially since Capcom's Marvel series was an annual franchise from X-Men Children of the Atom to Marvel vs. Capcom 1. They skipped 1 year because Marvel vs. Capcom 2 needed some extra time. But there's a slight problem with reusing sprites. You can't make new characters. Or can you? The devs decided to do some palette swapping to expand the roster a little bit. Don't know who Blackheart is? Well, maybe you've heard of his dad, Mephisto. Captain America too nice for you? Let's introduce you to his asshole rival, US Agent. Acclaim has the rights to Iron Man right now. Well, do they have the rights to War Machine? And hey, let's paint that War Machine gold to make him the Model 2 armor. Venom, you thought you were spared? You're getting an orange or red paint job depending on who you ask, and look kind of like Carnage. For the most part, this worked out pretty well, but there's only so many references you can make by changing the colors on characters. Well, why don't we make some new characters? Mech Zangief, Shadow Lady, Dark Sakura, Cyber Akuma, Orange Hulk! Hey, wait a second, Orange Hulk. Kind of sounds ridiculous, doesn't it? Hold your laughter, true believer. There's something bigger going on here than a simple palette swap. Let's dive into the secret history of Orange Hulk. We're gonna have to go back to the 60s version of Hulk. No, not that one. Go back further. There we go. So you see, Stan Lee really liked the word Hulk. So he used it for 5 characters in 2 years before the Green Goliath. The first one was a giant robot in Strange Tales issue 75. He also used it for villains in 2 separate Marvel Western comics. The Outlaw Slade's Muscle in Rawhide Kid issue 23, and in Gunsmoke Western issue 63, the Two-Gun Kid is challenged to a fistfight by a huge outlaw named Hulk Hogan. I'm not kidding. But none of these Hulks are the orange one we're seeking, except this one panel. No, who we're really looking for is your friend and mine, Xemnu! Xemnu is a mind-controlling alien who sporadically appears in Hulk comics throughout the years. And do you know why? Well, it's because he was originally called Hulk. And I know what you're saying.
He's white?
Yes, but originally he was orange. Yeah, in both of his Journey into Mystery comics, he is specifically colored orange. It wasn't until the reprints of the stories in Monsters on the Prowl, where he was recolored white. I should also note that Xemnu's name is still Xemnu in these comics. Hulk is just a noun he's called throughout the comic, unlike our next Orange Hulk from Tales to Astonish issue 21, a movie monster who's painted on the theater display as orange. And since this was the 60s and black and white movies were still around, he's colored a grayish purple on the big screen. It's a cool comic where the monster comes out of the screen at the end of the movie. But oh, don't worry, that was just a movie. But then he comes out of the screen again and terrorizes the crowd. But oh, thank God, that was another movie. Or was it? The comic goes along like this, with the main horror being the blurred line between fiction and reality. Anyways, this Hulk would be renamed and recolored to the less good Glop in the Where Monsters Dwell reprint, except this one panel where they missed it. But what about Hulk? The Hulk we all know. We all know the story about how he originally was gray, but due to printing at the time, the coloring was inconsistent, so they went with green in issue 2 and never looked back. Until Al Milgrom did.
And if you don't know, now you know.
And knowing is half the battle.
But the colorist on those comics, Stan Goldberg, has a bit more to add to the story in Alter Ego issue 18. Was green your original choice for the Hulk? I'm not certain, but it probably was. The Thing was orange, so we couldn't use that. I certainly didn't plan to make him red, and we kicked around the idea of making him green. But Stan wanted to try gray. I fought him on that. I told him it wouldn't work, and it didn't work, because we couldn't keep the color consistent throughout the book. Sometimes the Hulk was different shades of gray and even green in one panel. If we hadn't made the Thing orange, that'd have been the perfect color for the Hulk. So yeah, the original colorist, Stan Goldberg's preferred color for the Hulk was orange. And hey, that makes sense, since those other Hulk comics were also colored by Stan Goldberg. So in just a 2-year span, Stan Lee wanted to make another Hulk. And likely, Goldberg thought, oh yeah, we'll make him orange like last time. Now was Capcom thinking, yes, of course, we're paying tribute to Stan Goldberg's intended vision? I won't say no, but in my research I've only found Stan Goldberg mention this in this interview in 2002, while Marvel vs. Capcom 1 came out in 1998. But it didn't mean Capcom's Orange Hulk isn't a reference, because Capcom had their eyes set on a different, larger-than-life character. With licensing in general, you'd get somebody that wanted to take an X-Men license, and they would try to throw in members of the Fantastic Four, or Spider-Man, or just somebody that showed up in an X-Men comic. We're like, well, no. We had a lot of back and forth between Capcom USA and Capcom Japan as well. Especially on Marvel Superheroes more than Children of the Atom. Marvel Superheroes had a lot of debate on the characters, for who we could and couldn't use. Marvel Superheroes was the one I really disagreed with. I really disagreed with using Blackheart. I thought there were so many other characters we wanted to use. I wanted to have The Thing, Ben Grimm and The Thing, and Thor. Those were the main ones I wanted to do. And they were like, no, can't go with that. Plus, Acclaim had a Fantastic Four game around that time. And if you notice, in Marvel vs. Capcom 1, there's a big lack of Fantastic Four characters, including Doctor Doom. Because, as revealed much later, the Fantastic Four characters, including Galactus, were, quote, off the table legally, unquote. So it's possible the developers put in Orange Hulk as a reference to the ever-loving Blue-Eyed Thing. Alternatively, Capcom staffer Katsuya Akitomo is a huge Marvel fan. So much so that the team would often address him as Marvel fan or Marvel Zombie as a nickname. Quote, like the Marvel ambassador inside of Capcom, unquote. He would translate Marvel Comics himself for Capcom staff, and eventually became an official Japanese Marvel comic translator. And if anyone was gonna know about the original Hulks being orange, it would be him. Now, wherever this inspiration came from, it definitely struck a chord. In 2011, Marvel vs. Capcom 3 was unleashed upon an eager fanbase. While most were satisfied, there were a few missing characters from previous games. Cable, Venom, Jill Valentine in her superior RE Classic version, but one character who didn't even make it as a costume was Orange Hulk. They put in Age of X Hulk and Captain Universe Hulk. Come on! Or maybe that's supposed to be Blue Hulk, which would be an impressive reference, but anyways, this is about Orange Hulk, not Blue Hulk. No matter how adorable he is. While we couldn't turn to our screens for Orange Hulk, we could turn the pages of our comics and find him there. In Identity Wars, Deadpool, Spider-Man, and Hulk got sucked into another universe. Deadpool meets someone who matches his freak, Spider-Man wears a cape, and he's also successful, rich, and well-loved, and Bruce Banner can't turn into the Hulk anymore. However, not all is what it seems. Peter gets a little suspicious of his alternate self after taking over until alternate Peter's wounds heal. So he does a little investigating. He finds out that Uncle Ben is alive, and he's not the same man he knew. This Uncle Ben is obsessed with power, with no responsibility. He's abusive and downright evil, which has led this Peter to kill a lot of alternate spider people by absorbing their power to become stronger. Our Peter is just the newest lamb for the slaughter. Then there's Deadpool and Deathwish. During the Deadly Duo's rough fun times, he notices something.
Listen to me, gorgeous. How long does it take for you to regenerate?
Regenerate?
Yeah, turns out Deathwish isn't Wade Wilson. This is the universe's Wade Wilson. Deathwish was Victor Von Doom. He was driven insane after the Fantastic Four disbanded, and this Wade Wilson, aka Death Mask, became super genius after Reed Richards performed revolutionary surgery on his cancer. Deadpool declares war on Death Mask's empire, replaces Death Mask after swapping costumes, blows him up, and tears his empire apart from the inside. Left with nothing, Death Mask offers himself to Mephisto. In return, Death Mask wants a powerful spell undone. That spell being the Hulk returns to this world. You see, this world's Bruce Banner was trained by Doctor Strange in the mystic arts after the incident. His final test before becoming Sorcerer Supreme was to cast the Hulk out from himself and into Hell. The Hulk, after years in Hell, changed into something even more dangerous and more orange, the Infernal Hulk. Not to be confused with the new Infernal Hulk from 616. Our mainline heroes, with the help of Bruce Banner, Sorcerer Supreme, and some trickery, defeat the monster and send him back to Hell. Of course, they make it back to their own universe. Thanks to the now good other Peter, who's become Ghost Spider. Yes, this is where that costume comes from. And then the very next month in Uncanny X-Force issue 12, we'd see another Orange Hulk. For context, the Archangel persona is taking over Angel, so the only hope for a cure is in the Age of Apocalypse universe. The only way to get there is with someone from there. Luckily, they have Dark Beast from that universe. They use him, get abandoned by him, and find out the world's under new management. With the death of Apocalypse, someone took his place. Weapon Omega, who you may find familiar because yes, this is Age of Apocalypse Wolverine. He believes he had to take Apocalypse's place and ascend, because the Celestials believed that mutants were the next step for humanity, and if that next step was stalled with Apocalypse's death, the Earth is wiped off the board. To subjugate the populace, he has his own form of the Horsemen of Apocalypse with the Black Legion. And right there's Orange Hulk. A corrupted, more powerful version of an X-Man using corrupted versions of superheroes to fight his enemies? I wonder where I've seen that before. There isn't much to know about this Orange Hulk though. The only background we get is in a later issue where we find out he's powered by solar radiation instead of gamma. Unfortunately, this would be the last appearance of an Orange Hulk for quite some time. But an Orange Hulk would return fairly recently. Kind of. In Ms. Marvel Annual 1 from 2024, the Soul Stone has a new owner, a robot named Multitude. He's performing a carnival act where he summons constructs of souls. A widower doesn't take kindly to his dead wife being orange and starts antagonizing him. Eventually, this gets too much for Multitude and he loses it. He projects a Hulk construct and starts smashing, which he immediately regrets. Kamala's friends even point out the odd orange hue of the usually Jade Giant. I'll also point out that massive nerd Iman Vellani co-wrote this annual, and given how nerdy she is,
I don't believe that the MCU is 616. As much as Kevin Feige can make us think that it's 616, it is 199999.
she may have intended this to be a nod to Capcom or hell even Stan Goldberg's original intent. And that's what all of this is about. Whenever you see Orange Hulk in Marvel vs. Capcom or the comics, you're getting a glimpse of another world. A world where Stan Goldberg got his way. It's no different from getting to play as the rough draft designs of Kratos or Shadow. It's a cool thing to see all of a character realized, the conception versus the fully realized end, no matter how much green or gray undeniably work better.